Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Cut to the Chase Sports Podcast. First episode in like 2 months because I'm being very lazy. But hey, we bring a unique insight and analysis for your favorite sports at the collegiate and professional levels. I'm your host, Chase Yantz. We're back at it. Brady, what's up, man? Haven't seen you on the screen in a minute.
Right. It's been months, probably 3-ish since I've been on, but I know we're back. Not as busy right now, but ready to talk about some Ohio State football.
Definitely. That Bengals loss just had me down to the dumps and then, schoolwork and everything. So, we all have our excuses, but hey, we're back on the show and everything. Talk some Ohio State football, which is why we got our guy, Matt Ricketts, on the show. Matt, how we doing?
What's going on? I'm ready to rock and roll. We've been talking about it for a while, getting linked up, getting together. I'm excited to be here. Let's get it rocking.
Yes, sir. This is the first step of something big. We got Ohio State coverage in the spring, Ohio State coverage throughout the fall. Got a big schedule coming up for Ohio State. Starting off with Notre Dame this year. So, en route to their preparation for that big game on September 3rd on that Saturday. So, yes. Before we dive into some of the spring game preview, which the game is on Saturday, April 16th, some tragedy struck throughout, the NFL and college world and just, in general. Dwayne Haskins, former Ohio State quarterback and Washington Commanders now and Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, tragically passed away down in Florida on the highway around 6:30 a.m. on Saturday. 24 years old, just so unfortunate a life that young was lost. And, talk about all things football and everything, great football player and all, but just, even better man and all that stuff. But, I just wanted to get you guys' favorite moments on Dwayne Haskins before we get going and everything. So I'll pitch it to Brady first.
Wow, man. I don't think I've had a death in the sports world that has made me this sad. I was devastated to hear about Dwayne because Dwayne, ever since he played at Ohio State, he's always been one of my favorite players, if not my favorite player to ever wear a Ohio State uniform. I've never once said a bad thing about him, and I just thought he was kind of like one of my idols in middle school. And I still don't think there's many QBs that in this world that can throw a football as pretty as he can throw it. So my favorite moments, definitely got a number one, beating Michigan 62-39, 2018. What a moment. That's my favorite moment for sure. I was sitting like 3 rows up, and his interview was right next to where I was sitting, and he was just so happy. Really good dude. Everyone loved him in the locker room, and tragic loss.
Yep. Matt, how about you?
Yeah. Sorry about that. For me, I agree with Brady. It's got to be, that's number one. But just to go along, give another huge moment, I think there's 2 that really stick out to me other than the Michigan game that year. The Maryland game. He went back home. He's from that area, was recruited by Maryland. He goes in there. We're battling our defense, giving up 70-yard runs everywhere we go. We got to keep scoring, going up and down the field. He's right back in there. He's keeping us in the game. And then he was able, to lead us down the field and win that game at the end. So that's a big one. But then also I think it gets a little bit overlooked. The Penn State game that year. I think the Penn State game, it was huge because it was his first hostile road environment. We played TCU earlier that year, but it was kind of a neutral site. It was in Dallas. It was in the Cowboy Stadium. So it wasn't, it was split. We had Ohio State fans, TCU fans. But we were at Penn State, the whiteout. We all know how loud and crazy that can get. And we were down 2 scores in that game. 2 scores in that game. He throws a pass. It gets tipped. I think it was Rashad Berry. It was a pick. And they go up 13-0. And he was still able to fight through the adversity in his first huge road game and lead us down. Had the big touchdown pass to KJ Hill, and then Ben Victor, Bambi running down the sideline there.
Long legs.
So I think that was a really huge moment for him, just leaping forward throughout the rest of the year, just because it was his first big test. So I think the Penn State game gets overlooked. He didn't throw for a ton of yards, but I'll always remember that game as okay, we got our quarterback for the rest of the year. I'm with that guy. He's going to lead us to a good season.
You got it.
I don't think we can really like mention his big moments without mentioning maybe his most important moment, which was obviously that 2017 Michigan game. JT.
Oh, absolutely. The throw to Austin. Yeah, it was. I mean, talk about threading a needle, man. Put that right on the money. You got that pass has got to be a bullet. You know how it is, Brady. You know what I'm saying? When you're throwing down the middle of the field, you got the whole shot. You got to hit it. He hit it right on the money.
The safety, Tyree Cannell, actually got hurt because it was that tight of a window that Austin Mack was hurt too on the ground. Yeah. And we were losing when JT Barrett got hurt. And Dwayne Haskins, I mean, it's kind of criminal that he didn't start the next week in the Big Ten championship after that. But Dwayne, man, what a moment. We were going to lose that 2017 Michigan game maybe with JT in there. Nothing against JT, but Dwayne, he was just – you could pick any moment from his entire career, and it was probably him that led us to victory. He had to lead us to victory every game.
To add on to that, I think even Ryan said this, he's kind of changed. He's the first quarterback in this new era of Buckeye offense where we're slinging it. We're not just running the ball down each other's or the team's throat every play with, JT or Mike Weber or Curtis Samuel or whoever came before that, right? We're able to sit back there and we're able to pick defenses apart. Justin Fields, obviously, CJ now. Dwayne was the start of that. He was the first guy to do that, and Coach Day said that. So I think, he was a catalyst, and he will be truly missed. I mean, this year, I know the Steelers signed Mitchell Trubisky, but with Big Ben retiring, you never know what's going to happen. Trubisky hasn't been a superstar in the NFL either. Yeah. So he had a chance to fight for a job. He had a chance to fight for a job. So it's really sad. It's tragic that he wasn't able to get that opportunity. But, he will be missed. He's a legend. One of the greatest Ohio State quarterbacks to ever live.
Absolutely. Exactly. And I think people didn't give him the chance he deserved in terms of immediately calling him like a huge bust. Like you're saying that after 7 starts. And a couple of those, he had good games. Like people are acting like he literally could not play NFL football. Like he had one of the best arms in the NFL. Ask Big Ben. Big Ben, even before he died, said he could throw a ball through the car wash without it even getting wet. And I think I'd agree. Like he said, he always wishes he could throw the ball like Dwayne. And I think once he got the maturity level down, like he keeps playing more years in the NFL, I think he could have been a great quarterback. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. And, you saw it people were even reporting that he was in the facility every day throwing with the Steelers in this past offseason and everything. And, sometimes it just takes a couple, takes a maturity growth or a couple of years to just kind of get things down and stuff in the NFL. There's so much more exposure that you can do when it comes to on the field and off the field and all that stuff. Yeah. And just the fact that people, were making those comments and all that and how they were phrasing and wording all this stuff is just, it's sickening, and, people have their opinions and all, but just don't, they don't need to express it like that. There's so many other ways to express it. A young man just lost his life. That's, there's not the place and time to say that.
One of the greatest QBs in the history of college football, I might add. I don't get how anyone couldn't have said that instead of something about his rough start. He got drafted to the Washington Redskins. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Joe Burrow and all these great quarterbacks would have failed with the Redskins. Justin Herbert.
Yeah, their organization, Washington's organization, is one of the worst ran organizations.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
You see scandals coming from that, scandals and all these rumors and all this stuff coming from them. That's a totally different topic. But you do have to take into account, though. You have to take some of that into account. That it also didn't help and all. But yeah, what you guys are talking about, the catalyst of this new era of Ohio State offense. Dwayne Haskins, the way that he just looked so smooth and was just purely throwing the football and all that. And like you guys mentioned with Haskins and Fields and Stroud and all that stuff, before Ohio State would, they run a lot of zone read option, all that stuff. It was so predictable. But now, like said, Ohio State can drop back and throw the ball 40 times a game and
Yeah.
just pick defenses apart left and right, up and down the field and everything. And it's, he was the catalyst of that. I will agree on piggybacking on Matt right there.
And he's still unsurpassed. Nobody has beaten those records that he set.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, yeah, it could happen this year.
To be honest, I don't think it will. I think it's at least not by a Buckeye quarterback for a while, just because hopefully we don't have to do that, because we were in so many shootout games where our defense was we were giving up so many points. Dwayne had to throw for 400 or 500 yards to keep us in the game.
He did,
you know?
and he did it.
And our running game that year was almost non-existent. It really was, and that was even with J.K. Dobbins and Mike Weber. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, our line.
I mean, he was slinging it everywhere. So I think that our offense has evolved to where we got more balance now, and hopefully our defense can keep us in games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we don't have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And seeing from the Barstool Ohio State, they're doing the whole candlelight visual and all that outside of is that outside Ohio Stadium, I believe. Outside Ohio Stadium right now.
Like there's thousands of people there too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Awesome.
So they're honoring him tonight. They'll be honoring him at the spring game Saturday. They'll be on, and he is a legend in Ohio State history, engraved forever. Dwayne Haskins, 1997 to 2022. And just seeing CJ Stroud wearing number 7 and writing, "Long live Simba" and all that on his uniform and all that. That's a very good way cool way to commemorate, Dwayne Haskins and all. Saw on the Instagram yesterday, I believe.
Yep. Yeah. Great.
Absolutely.
Great way to honor him.
Mm-hmm.
There was talk about retiring the number. I don't know.
I think there was.
Exactly. I'm not against it. It doesn't matter to me. I just thought I'd throw it out there. They were talking about possibly retiring it. CJ changing his number. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but that would also be obviously a great tribute if they decided to do that.
I think CJ and Dwayne are so similar as players that I'd almost want CJ to keep that 7 just in his own. Like, they play the exact same, except I would say CJ's even more hesitant to run than Dwayne was. Dwayne would put his head down when we needed him to against Maryland, and nothing against CJ. And Michigan, first play of the game. But nothing against CJ. But he does not he's not very he's not a runner. He throws that football, and he throws it well. So
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And just to kind of roll into that about talking about quarterbacks and everything, and CJ Stroud, like what are your thoughts going into the Ohio State quarterback room that is led by CJ Stroud, and what are you guys expecting from him Saturday and beyond?
Go ahead, Matt. You can take this one first.
Yep.
Saturday, not much. I mean, I fully, we're gonna try our starters out. They're gonna, get their, however many series Ryan has them set.
Yep.
The spring game for me is all about the young guys. So, and I think I kind of know what Kyle McCord is. I think he's just a solid backup. But I'm excited for Devin Brown. CJ was giving him very high praise early during spring practice and everything. So I'm excited to see. I think it's his team next year. I think CJ will be obviously top 5 pick, top 10 pick, depending on how his season goes. But I'm excited to see Devin Brown. I always, when you start off, when you're first seeing a quarterback play, it's always how can he stretch the field vertically? How far can he get that ball down the field? So in terms of deep shots, would love to see some deep balls to some of those young receivers that we have. So, like I said, I'm most excited for Devin Brown. I think I know what McCord is. We know what we're going to get with CJ. So I'm excited for Devin Brown for sure.
Like he said, CJ, we know what we're getting. Heisman contending quarterback, top 5 pick, whatever he is. He could be number 1 pick for all I care. Great quarterback. And again, Kyle McCord, I don't think he is a Dwayne Haskins, a Justin Fields, or a CJ Stroud. I think he's more of a step down. He can throw the ball, but he's not as smooth with it as the rest of them. If he does become our starting quarterback, we know what our floor is at quarterback, and I'll take it because he has started a game as a freshman against Akron, threw for over 300.
Yep.
A lot of that's because Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jackson made him look good. But, so Devin Brown, I've wanted to talk about him for a long time. Ever since the Elite 11 this summer, he has been my number one quarterback in the 2022 class over Quinn Ewers. And I even said when he was committed to us that Quinn Ewers was overrated. I thought he was good. He's clearly a good player. But at the Elite 11, Devin Brown was the one getting all the praise. He was the one that was throwing the shots down the field. And then there was a game this year that I heard about. He was still committed to USC at the time because we had Quinn Ewers. Devin Brown threw 8 touchdowns in the first half of a high school football game. And the way that guy slings it is like unbelievable at this point. I don't think I've ever seen it. He should be a top 5 player in the 2022 class. I think he's an elite quarterback recruit, and I'm right with Matt. He's going to be the guy next year. And I want him to take some shots to like our freshman receivers because I want to see what they got coming in to Zone 6 with Keon Grays and all them. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So Devin Brown.
Yeah, I think it goes. I think it goes to show how important constantly getting a quarterback in each recruiting cycle is so important. You know, the whole Quinn Ewers thing. I mean, obviously he's a great talent too, but could be a blessing in disguise. You know what I'm saying?
It really could be.
2 years. We end up with 2 years of CJ, and then two years hopefully of Devin Brown. I mean, just a bunch of talent at the quarterback position for sure.
So much talent, and the fact that Quinn Ewers had the courage to go up to Ryan Day and ask for the starting job next year over I don't know what you guys would call him. I'd say he's probably the Heisman leader, not the favorite in Vegas because Bryce Young won it, but guys don't go 2 years in a row. So I'd say CJ is probably one of the guys, if not the guy, that is among who people think will win the Heisman. So the fact that Quinn Ewers and his family thought he could possibly start over CJ as a 19-year-old is absolutely ridiculous.
Exactly. He hadn't proven anything. I know he didn't have any chances, but the guy out there is already doing all the things that, you're expected to do. Like, CJ Stroud was out there doing all the numbers and, winning games and all that stuff. So, I mean, the fact that walk up to Ryan Day and just trying to let him hear it, like, it's going to go through one ear and out the other. So, and that was the perfect time for Quinn Ewers to just leave at that point, and he's down at Texas, see what he does down there. But it is a huge thing though when it comes to the recruiting cycle. If you have these big time quarterbacks and you stay for 2 years, like a 2 year gap, 2 year periods and all that stuff, you just keep hitting on quarterbacks like that. That is huge. So you guys want to see a lot of Devin Brown on Saturdays.
A lot of Devin Brown, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And then rolling into running backs and all, we already know it's headlined by Travion Henderson and all that, and just see who's behind him and all. What do you guys like out of the running back room behind Henderson?
You want to take this one to start, Matt?
Yeah, meatball, Mayan Williams, baby, thunder and lightning. We got a good 1-2 punch. I mean, we have Evan Pryor, some Marcus Crowley, guys behind him. Right. Obviously, I just think even some of the younger guys coming in, it's just going to be hard to get carries. Like it's just. I mean, we know what we got from the running back room. I just think it's going to come down to being consistent up front, really. But Travion and Mayan. I mean, Mayan Williams. He doesn't look the part, but he plays like a monster, man. He's literally reminds me of Maurice Jones-Drew. Short, stout, quick, gets to the hole quick, has great vision, powerful. I mean, he's just very low to the ground, hard to get down, hard to see through the line of scrimmage, from the linebacker's perspective. So, I think we got a really good 1-2 punch that are going to get the bulk of the carries. This is going to be hard for any of the other running backs to really see time, I think.
I think Williams is going to be an amazing weapon for when the defenses get tired. I think that him coming in full energy, he's powerful, he's quick. If he was our starting running back all year, like he was in the first game, I think he would have put up insane numbers. I think he could have had thousands of yards. No, I'm not saying he's Travion Henderson. Trey is obviously the preseason number one running back according to the consensus. He is the guy in college football that's expected. If a Heisman is a running back this year, it's Travion Henderson. That's the expectation. He's expected to not miss a beat from last year and maybe even get a little bit more physical in the running game. But in terms of Evan Pryor, I don't think he's going to get the carries that he's getting hyped up to get, because in spring practice, we've been hearing that he's been a good receiver out of the backfield, that he's been getting valuable carries, which I'm sure is true. I'm sure he's a solid running back, but I don't think this is the year for him. I think we're going to have to wait a year or two until Evan Pryor is still in full go. But I expect Marcus Crowley to probably hit the transfer portal this spring, because he's been here a while. It's his turn to go find some minutes.
That's the thing with the transfer portal. It's I know talking in a sense for basketball and all, but like when it comes to the transfer portal and just college sports in general, I mean it works its magic though. Teams do get older as it goes. Like Ohio State doesn't really have to, use it a whole lot because we're bringing in 4 or 5 stars like all the time at like all positions. So but it just shows the amount of depth Ohio State has at all these positions and all. And when it comes to Travion Henderson, I also Travion Williams plays for the Bengals, but Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, a combination of two very, very, very good running backs and, offensive line up front. I mean, it's a dual package right there. So just watching Travion Henderson run the football last year was insane. Oh. I loved every second of watching him run the football, even when we're not throwing to the three-headed monster at receiver. I just love watching Travion Henderson, the way he would run and just go from hash number to sideline, breaking off big runs, like every game.
And you know what the crazy thing is? They both will probably be back next year as well. Travion obviously will be back because he's not hitting the portal. And Mayan, unless he breaks out and goes to the NFL after 3, which I don't expect, or hits the portal, which is definitely a possibility just because Travion's ahead of him, but they both will split carries. They could be an amazing two-headed monster for years to come.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's just going to be fun to watch, especially like last year against Minnesota. Just trying to see what you were looking at running back. Both guys had some big runs that game.
They both had 70-plus yard TDs. Yeah,
I mean, they had some big-time runs and big-time touchdowns, but then you could kind of see who it was. They have a little different styles of play and everything, but it just works out in the end, when those two mesh together and all. So this is going to definitely be really exciting to see when it comes to, the regular season and all. And now we're throwing it over to the receivers. Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson are gone. We saw a ton of Jackson Smith and Jigba last season in the Rose Bowl performance. I mean, wow, just, bravo for that. But filling in right behind him, what are we looking at right here with, guys like Emeka Buka, Marvin Harrison Jr. and all? What are we looking at with this entire receiving room? Sorry for you, Brady.
We're looking at the deepest receiver room in all of college football, and it's not even a debate. Obviously, with Jackson, Ohio State career yards or single-season yards leader, Ohio State single-season catches leader, unbelievable production coming last year, even with the 2 other first-round picks and playing out there with them. We're going to see a monster year from Jackson Smith and Jigba. You can expect 1,500-plus receiving yards from him, and I would never say that about somebody else. I would have never said that another year about any receiver coming into the year. But we know Jackson. We know he's going to explode. Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think he's going to lead us in touchdowns this year, receptions. I think he's going to have like 14 touchdowns this year receiving the ball because I think he's a monster threat in the red zone. and I think he's a great route runner. He's strong. He's a big dude. Like he's like 6'4", 6'3", I think. And I think he's going to be an absolute elite receiver. Those could be the two first-team All Big Ten receivers this year. I do think they're definitely the two best receivers in the league. And then I think that Emeka Egbuka will be right there behind them. I think he might be the third best. That's how deep it is. He might be the second. Emeka Egbuka was the number one wide receiver in the nation in the 2021 class, and he might not even start this year as a sophomore. But I hope he does because Julian Fleming, I think he's a very good blocker, and he showed a lot of toughness. And I hope he has the breakout year that he's been waiting for, but I have not seen it from him yet. And I haven't heard much from him about him in practice either. So there's some poor to watch there. And then you got Jaden Ballard, another sophomore, great deep threat apparently. Even though we haven't seen him, apparently he's very fast, track, speed. And then you got the freshmen coming in with Keon Grays, Caleb Burton, Kojo Antwi, and Caleb Brown, all four-star receivers. Keon Grays is who I've been hearing the most about. Expect him to be if a freshman contributes at receiver this year, I think it'll be him. And then Cameron Babb, injured for his whole career, finally hopefully going to get a chance this year. And just one of our leaders of this team, Cameron Babb. So that's all I have to say about the receivers, even though it's a lot. Insane room. That's all I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the best. It's the best room. It's the best room in the country for sure. Obviously, Jackson, we got him. Brady hit it right on the nail with Marvin Harrison as a red zone threat. 6'3", 6'4", can really. It's something that I think is underrated about him for being so big. He runs routes really well.
Yeah.
Ryan Hartline, he is a great route runner. But the thing that I'm most curious and most excited to see is who's going to take the top off the defense. Because losing Olave, losing Garrett Wilson, I mean, we saw it at the combine. They're both 4.3 guys. Marvin Harrison and Jackson Smith-Njigba aren't 4.3 guys. They're fast. They're all fast. If you're all 4 Ohio State, you're fast.
Yeah.
They're all fast, but 4.3, 4.4, that's Emeka Egbuka. That's a guy that can get deep, take the top off the defense. He's 6'5", 6'1", give him 6'1". He's got the same type of body type as Devin Smith in terms of just track star speed, getting downfield. If he could somewhat, I'm not saying he's Devin Smith, but Devin Smith was the best deep ball receiver I've seen ever play for Ohio State.
Yeah.
So if we get, I'm looking for in the spring game, early in the season, who's going to be our guy that could stretch the defense vertically? Because we're not just going to be able to nickel and dime it underneath all day long. You know, Jackson likes to run the short, get the ball to Jackson underneath, stuff like that, right? I want to see who can really stretch the field vertically. So whether that's – I think personally it's going to end up being Emeka or Ballard, right? Guys that can really get down the field and are just blazers. But also, like Brady said, we got both Caleb's coming in. I mean, we're just so deep that they're going to have to pick 5 or 6 guys to get a majority of the reps, right? Cameron Babb's been around forever. Haven't seen him at all, though, right? Can't stay healthy, this, that. Godspeed to him. I think he's had like 3 or 4 ACL tears, so that's brutal.
That's unfortunate.
Another thing is Julian Fleming a bust, right?
Yeah.
Number 1 overall receiver, 5 stars. In the past, we've had all these receivers. Garrett Wilson as a freshman, he found a way to pop, right? Obviously, against Michigan as a freshman, he had a big game against Michigan. In the Clemson game, early on, he made that huge jump, leaping catch down the sideline, right? He found a way to pop. Chris Olave, when he was a freshman against Michigan, what did he do? He was only a 3-star recruit, but at the same time, if you're that good, you don't have to be the number 1 receiver on the team that early, but you got to find a way to pop. Somehow you got to find a way to pop. Julian hasn't found a way to pop yet. So hopefully he can find a way to break through. Problem is, I just don't see how he's going to be able to do that because we have so many other good receivers it's just going to be hard to do. So, like I said, I think Jackson, if I looked at it correctly, he had 95 catches last year. I think he's like 96 away from breaking the all-time receptions record in a career. It's KJ Hill. He's got to get like 96. I checked it last week. So,
wow.
I mean, if you would think he would have a better year now, but also you got to look at it. Defenses are going to be focusing more on him.
Yeah.
Because we don't have Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. So, like I said, can we find a way to take the top off the defense to where they got to respect somebody else, and Jackson's underneath all day long? You know what I mean? We just have so much talent on offense. Defenses are just going to have to pick their poison. You know what I'm saying? How you want whatever you take away, we're going to do exactly the opposite, and just take what you give us all day long. So, I'm excited. Best receiving core in the country again. I'm looking forward to it for sure.
I really like your point about finding a way to pop. I just wanted to hit on that real quick because I think Fleming might be just about the only freshman receiver that was hyped up that has not found one at all by their freshman year. Jackson Smith and Jibba.
That's what I'm saying. But right,
makes the most freakish catch I've ever seen. Marvin Harrison Jr. scores 3 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl. Emeka Egbuka almost house calls 8 kicks this year, but he made it across the 50 almost.
Right.
Special teams.
Right.
Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, all those guys, we already know what they've done. And then even the
special teams, anything.
Even the Jameson.
They always, if you're that good, you always find a way to pop. Jameson Williams,
right.
like you were just about to say, the Clemson game. Sorry to cut you off, but you're right.
No, you're good.
I mean, you always just find a way to pop, and he just hasn't yet.
Mm-hmm.
You find a way to pop. That's the reason why you're at Ohio State. You got to live to that standard, and that's what etches people into history. The all-time great receivers that have gone through. I would name a bunch of them, but there's so many to name. And recent history, obviously, we've you guys covered all of those. So I mean, that's just part of it. Just big time players make big time plays, and that just holds right up to it, and especially at Ohio State. So that receiver room, I mean, the way it's constructed, it's a masterpiece, but having that dimension of taking the top off of defense, it's gonna pay dividends when it comes to, like you guys said, Jackson Smith and Jigba running underneath routes, and he, with people that talk about him being 96 catches away from the all-time record. I mean, should he get it this year? I mean, yeah, I would think, but I mean, he also has some pretty good talent as well on the outside. But having that top off the defense is just so huge, and that's just going to keep Ohio State's offense just rolling even more than what we could even imagine. It just blows my mind, and it's it is very exciting to think about. Ohio State just taking deep shots, and then you got the lanky receiver outside with Marvin Harrison Jr., and then Jackson Smith and Jigba being Jackson Smith and Jigba. So I can't wait to see that happen.
I can't wait either. It's going to be an absolute show throwing the ball this year, especially with our QB being a first-round projected pick.
And then, when it comes to that, how about the tight end position? Jeremy Ruckert not there anymore. Who's going to step in? What do you guys want to look at when it comes to tight ends? Matt, I'll give it to you first.
So this is actually really it's very. A lot of people wouldn't sit here and say it's really important. It is really important in this offense. Ryan Day loves using a blocking tight end. Jeremy Ruckert, yes. Luke Farrell, those dudes could block. They were always great pass catchers because they're big, long, athletic guys, highly recruited guys. But you got to be able to block. So the predicament we're going to have here is you got Cade Stover, right? Big physical guy. I have no doubt he can block, but you got to be able to get out and play action and move around a little bit and run routes too. Okay, so you got Cade Stover as a blocking guy, right? G. Scott as a receiving type. He was a 4-star receiver from Washington, right? Yeah,
right.
From Washington a few years ago.
Same high school as JT.
Obviously, right. Obviously, there's so much depth in the receiver room, switch positions, whatever. He's bulked up incredibly. Brady, did you see his picture today?
He looks like a freak
Looking
beast.
massive.
Who we talking about? G. Scott?
He looks like
I'm about to look at
Scott.
this.
So I think he's looking like he probably was what, 205, 210. He's looking like he's on 10, 15 pounds.
He looks like he's around 230 maybe.
Huge.
Yeah. And
Which would be
the
huge
thing about
for
that,
us because I really – yeah, go ahead.
No, you got it. You got it if you're not done. You got it.
What I was saying was, like, I think he's the guy that you would think if he could put on and is physical enough to play that position and block well.
Damn.
He's already got the receiver background. He's an athlete, right? You would think he would be the guy to step in and take over that role. And also, Cade Stover played defense last year, so he's been out of tight end for a year, right? Or however long he's been. So he's got to get himself back into playing on the offensive side of the ball. So I think Scott has got a chance to be a huge, impact guy there. Not necessarily catching the ball all the time, but just giving us that threat that you got to respect him in the passing game, but also being able to block, in the tackle box as well, or however we're pulling him around, lead blocking on the outside, whatever we got to do, or whatever plays are called. I just think that he has the ability to be able to do that if he's put on that weight. Another guy to look out for is Bennett Christian as well, highly recruited guy, tight end coming in. So he's another young guy that could be able to. I mean, that job is up for grabs, completely up for grabs. So it could be him that takes over. So those three guys right there, I think, are the guys you got to look out for at tight end.
Yeah. So obviously, this is probably one of our biggest question mark positions in the team, but it is pretty versatile. You got your blocking tight end, like you said, Cade Stover, who played a little last year. We didn't really see much receiving. I'll be the first to admit that. He was not a great receiving tight end and probably won't be, but he's a good blocker. And then you've got G. Scott, like he said, he is our he is our weapon at tight end. He is the guy that most teams would want to say, hey, we want that type of guy on our team, like Kyle Pitts. And I'm not saying by any means is he Kyle Pitts. But he's.
I hope he's Kyle Pitts.
I hope he is too. But if he can,
damn, hey, if you're gonna give me fucking Kyle Pitts on that team, oh baby, we're rocking and rolling. Then.
Oh, easy. If we had Kyle Pitts, we better not get stopped. We better not have a single punt the whole year. But G. Scott Jr. Big weapon for us, or could be. And then what I wanted to mention was who I've been seeing the most from in spring practice, actually, Joe Royer, who is not a guy that I think of when I'm thinking who's going to be a great tight end at Ohio State when he was recruited. He made like this one-handed behind the over the shoulder, back shoulder catch from C.J. Stroud with the ones. He was running with the first team offense against I think it was a linebacker. But he's been showing off a little in practice, and I think Joe Royer. I don't think he looks the part in the blocking game right now, but in terms of a receiving tight end, he could be solid for us. And then like Matt mentioned, Bennett Christian became one of the most sought after tight ends in the 2022 class late in the cycle. Big 6'6", he'll be a blocker for us, and I think he'll start in the next couple of years, if he doesn't get big minutes this year.
Definitely see that. Ohio State, they've always had that, like Matt said, great blocking tight ends and just guys that know their role and that are very good at specific things. It just makes that unit, such a strong unit. And it also makes their game very expansive, with them being highly recruited talents, for catching the ball as 4 or 5 star tight ends, but then being able to expand their game, be like, oh, I can catch the ball pretty well, but I became an even better blocker since I was at Ohio State, and I'm able to do my job and do my role. So, that just helps out Ohio State's just offense and the movement of the game just so much more when it comes to those tight ends and all. And it will be interesting to see who's going to step up and show out. And I did just look at that picture of G. Scott. Man, oh man, he looks cut as heck.
He does. Wow. He looks like he's been hitting that weight room hard. And in terms of Ohio State tight ends, everyone knows that they do not produce in the receiving game at a very high level in the field. However, they always seem to earn starting jobs in the NFL. And I think that's because they've been prepared not only in the receiving game, because when we do throw to our tight ends, it can work out. Jeremy Ruckert, he should be a third-round pick at the latest. He's going to be a great tight end in the NFL. He'll start from day one wherever he goes. So, yeah, tight end recruits should still want to come to Ohio State.
Yep. Just looking at the bigger picture and all that stuff and, being more of an expansive game and all. So I do definitely agree with that. And when it comes to blocking, we have to take a look at the offensive line. The guys that are, supposed to be starting. I looked at 11 Warriors. I don't know how recent this was, the projected offensive line depth chart. Do you know it by heart, Brady?
Yeah, it's going to be the starting offensive line, DeJuan Jones at right tackle. I'm guessing they said the right guard was going to be Matt Jones.
They had left guard Matt Jones. I don't know how
recent guard. It's
yeah.
And then center Luke Weipler. The other guard will be Donovan Jackson, the 5-star freshman, and then the left tackle is going to be Paris Johnson.
Okay.
So in terms, you want me to just get into my review a little bit while we're at it?
Yeah, that's fine. You guys both get.
So it's also a fairly deep room because I think Josh Breyer will be a good backup, as well as some of those other guys like Enoch Vihami. They could all probably play. But I think DeJuan Jones coming back is going to be big time because he had a good year last year. Luke Weipler, solid center, nothing over the top, but he does his job. Paris Johnson had a solid year at left guard. We'll see what he'll do. We'll see what he can do at tackle this year because he is a projected first-round pick right now, but that's based off of his potential. So we don't know much about Paris yet. And then Matt Jones did a great job against Clemson in 2020. He had to fill in for Harry Miller, who also has been experiencing some problems with his mental health. So obviously we wish him well, even though he's no longer with the team. But who I think the secret weapon on this line is Donovan Jackson, the true sophomore. He was the number 6 overall recruit in the 2021 class as an offensive guard. And that does not happen. That hardly happens where an offensive guard is that high. And I've heard that he's benching 400 easy, consistent reps. And his technique is really good already. I think by the time he goes to the draft, will be the number 1 guard in that draft. That's my bold prediction here. I think he'll be a great player for us this year.
I don't think it's very bold, but I'm with you. That guy is a monster. Moves really well. That's all we've heard throughout spring practice, how well he's moving. So, obviously, I'm excited to get our guys back in the positions that they played before, recruited as. Paris Johnson, obviously getting back to playing tackle. So, I'm excited for that. I think our offense line, it's going to – I would like to get back to the offense that we had in 2019.
I would.
We were able to get downhill and run the ball between the tackles and consistently 4, 5, 6 yards a pop. When we had guys like J.K. Dobbins, obviously running the ball, but Wyatt Davis, right?
Yeah.
Josh Myers, guys like that, big physical offensive linemen that were just downhill constantly, and we were able to sustain drives. It's always not – obviously, we're going to have the big athletes on the outside to where we can hit the big splash plays time to time. I just felt like it was hard for us to sustain drives, run the ball up the middle last year.
That'll help our defense too, taking the time off the clock.
Oh, absolutely. Keeping them off the field, getting them rest, absolutely. But I'm excited for this offensive line. I think it's got a chance to be really, really good. Like I said, getting guys back to where they were playing before.
Yep.
It's going to be huge. And I'm excited for Donovan Jackson. He's kind of the new guy, the guy that hasn't played at all, right?
Right.
So I'm excited for him. And also, it's going back towards running backs a little bit, but it kind of goes hand in hand. With Travion, I want him to he's so good at hitting big plays, right?
Yep.
If you ask me who's he remind you of? Saquon Barkley, right? Not obviously Saquon, top 10 pick, great player, right? But he's a big play. But Saquon always struggled at Penn State, especially running between the tackles. He was always a big play guy. You know what I'm saying? He was the big pop, splash yard, splash play, big game, things like that. I want it to be – we like that, right? We want that.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's get back to the J.K. Dobbins, Ezekiel Elliott, where you can get 4 or 5 yards of carry running between the tackles, right?
Yeah.
And then hit the big one. We can't just hit the big plays all the time. So I'm excited. I think this offensive line has a lot of potential. And just speaking from experience, having a center back, right? Having a center that's played there already, just knowing that position is huge to anchor the middle of the line, right?
Absolutely.
I think Weifler is a great player. I really do. I think he knows what's going on. I think he's smart. So I'm excited for that, just having a leader up front, anchoring it down. And I just want to be able to run the ball 4 to 5 yards whenever the hell we want. That's what I want. I don't want to just. I don't want to hit a. I don't want to hit a 30-yarder and then get stuffed 2 plays in a row. That shit pisses me off. Let's run it down their throats, right? Let's do it 4 or 5 yards all the time, and I think we have a chance to do that with this offensive line for sure. Got some big boys up there, man. Trees.
Yeah.
Big Caleb Kings up there. Big old 6'6", 325ers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good, like almost 4 or 5 of them up there. But yeah, having that luxury, man, just being able to run the football like 4 or 5 yards a pop. But that's what those guys, J.K. Dobbins and Ezekiel Elliott, were able to do. They were able to do the 4 or 5 yard a pop, but then just put a dagger in them.
They can hit the big play.
Exactly, that's what it was. They just wear them down dagger. I love it. I love it.
We know if you give Travion a big seam, he is going to torch you. He's going to run in the 4.3s for sure by the time the combine comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He is electric with the ball in his hands.
And again, like Matt said, like obviously we love big plays like all the time and all that stuff, but it just, and also like as a fan, it also creates more excitement when it's like 4 or 5 yards of play and then just putting a dagger in your opponent like that. It just makes it so much better to watch and all of that.
It's just when we get in the big games, you're not always going to be able to get those 30, 40-yard chunk plays, right? You got to be able to sustain drives. I mean, you're going to get big plays. Talent makes big plays, right? We're going to have big plays, but a majority of the time, if we're playing Michigan, we're playing Penn State, good defenses, right? You're going to have to go 12, 13, 14-play drives every once in a while and punch it in. You got to be able to sustain drives against good teams.
Especially on the road. I mean, we play in Penn State. We play at Penn State this year. That's what's that? Is that I think that's mid-October, I believe. Mid-October, late October, I forget.
It's usually around there, but I'm not positive about this year. But I think it's late October.
It's in October.
Yeah.
It'll be a whiteout like it always is.
Yeah, it always is. I mean, that'll be big to see from Ohio State. I mean, obviously most of these guys, have a good amount of experience right now, but just even going forward, we gotta see that we can run the football at all different types of angles and levels and everything. So that'd be really big. Going over to the other side of the football, the defensive line. We're talking about the edge. We're talking about the 3 tech. We're talking about the regular tackles, those tackles, all that stuff. We've heard all the names. JT Tuamalo. Did I say the name right? How do you pronounce that?
It's like Tuamalo.
Yeah. Okay.
You honestly know just as well as I do at his last name pronunciation. It's too hard.
Okay, and then also Jack
JTT.
Sawyer on the other
How about
side.
that?
JTT. That's cool. That's cool with me. And then Jack Sawyer, all the other guys. Just break down the defensive line. Matt, you got it.
Tyleek Williams needs to start, right? JTT needs to start.
Yeah.
Zach Harrison, obviously, big guy coming back. He's got a lot of experience. He'll be a big-time threat. But Jack Miller, I'm excited for him. Or Jack Sawyer, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jack Sawyer, obviously, the big recruit from last year. It really depends on what scheme we're going to be running a lot of. If we're 4 down, you're going to have to throw another defensive tackle in there. Vincent, Cage, guys like that. But there's been talk of the 3-4 with the stand-up B end, right? So who's going to play that role? I don't know if Jack Miller's quick enough. I'm excited for that. So it's almost like I'm unsure. I'm ready to see it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm
I
ready
want to see how Jim Knowles. I could tell you all the personnel we have and what guys can play where and this, that, or the other, but I'm excited to see how he uses it. Does that make sense? We have depth there. Last year, I think we underperformed on the defensive line.
Absolutely.
Both offensive line and defensive line. With the best defensive line coach in the country, we should be dominant up there. One of the best in the nation. We have the talent, right? It was just it was disturbing to watch at times how we got manhandled up front, especially in the last game of the year, right?
Yeah.
With Michigan just running the ball down our freaking throats, pissing me off, right? I can't watch that shit no more. So we're going to have to dominate the line of scrimmage, okay? We got the talent to do it. I think we just need to stop rotating so many damn dudes all the time, right? Keep our guys in there. Obviously, you got to get guys blows, right?
Yeah.
I think sticking with your 5 or 6 guys that are going to constantly rotate in or out, I'm good with it. I'm excited for our defensive line as well.
I think that our defensive line last year gave Michigan the Joe Moore Award. I think Michigan's offensive line was overrated. They were a solid offensive line, but you look at it and it's like, wow, that dude does not look like any type of like beast offensive lineman or anything. Like that is not intimidating. They look unfit in a way. It's like the fact that they bullied our D line. I don't expect that to happen ever again. I think I think our 4 best D linemen might be sophomores. They really might be. With Tyleik Williams, absolute beast defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Jack Sawyer and JT Tuimoloau are going to be unbelievable defensive ends, I think. And there was actually the Ohio State on like 2 Saturdays ago, or maybe even last Saturday, I can't really remember. They had a 11-on-11 open session to the media, and the 2 starting DNs were JT and Jack Sawyer over Zach Harrison. But will Zach Harrison play a lot? Absolutely, and I think he could be a threat. But I really like seeing the younger guys in there. And then Michael Hall Jr. He looked like a beast over at defensive tackle. Didn't play much his freshman year, but I think he could be a threat. And then you also got Jerron Cage, Teron Vincent, Javante Jean-Baptiste, Tyler Friday, and a really deep D-line that should be one of the best in the nation for sure.
Yep. I mean, just seeing those 2 guys, the 2 sophomores, highly coveted recruits. It's going to be really fun seeing those 2 guys line up opposite of each other and just wreaking havoc on opposing teams' quarterbacks. That's going to be so much fun, to
Absolutely.
watch and all, What do you for someone that's a casual Ohio State fan, okay, I won't say I'm a casual Ohio State fan. I dive in on the Bengals a lot more than I would say Ohio State, but what really makes those 2 guys, Sawyer and Tuimoloau, like stand out like over everybody else? You guys can both chime in on this if you want.
I think that Jack Sawyer is relentless in his effort and as well as speed and strength combination. I think he's very technical at defensive end and he's just natural at it. And he's almost a freak. And then you go to JT, who's even more of a freak. I think he is huge. He is like 260, 270. Insane basketball player, insane tight end in high school. This dude would have been close to a 5-star tight end. He could start for us for tight end if he was. I mean, the dude is quick. The dude is huge. And you saw him last year. The dude fit in. He did not once get bullied when he was in there as a freshman. And he's just an absolute beast. And so they're different play styles, but both have very much the potential to be the number 1 defensive end in their respective draft when they come out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, for me, standing out was the ability to get after the quarterback, right? We haven't had a guy. I mean, we've had guys in the past couple years.
Yeah.
being able to get after the quarterbacks. But really, defensive line wise, you got Tommy and Haskell recently, right? Before that, obviously Chase, best ever, right?
Chase Young might be he's a top 5 defensive player in the history of college.
Insane
Yeah.
watching that guy
Absolutely.
play.
So what I'm saying is we gotta get back to getting those relentless pass rushers off the edge to where we're just constantly in the quarterback's face. I think that's what stands out about those two guys. Zach Harrison, solid player, right? Solid. He's a solid college football player. He's not the 5-star dude that was supposed to be the next Chase Young or the next Bosa or the next this or that or the other, right? He is not what that is. He's just not. We've seen 4 years of it now. He's not that. These guys have the potential to be that. Hopefully that pays off and we can see it on Saturdays. But I'm ready. I'm ready to see it. For defensive line wise, I got to see it before I could really buy into it. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the talent we have. But last year, we got to be able to get after the quarterback and control the line of scrimmage.
Agreed.
Could definitely see it. And, this is probably a good point to, we know what the defensive line is. Just, obviously putting the product on the field is the big thing, especially after the sour taste that it gave the last couple games of the season. But, we talked about this off camera. Linebackers, what's going on there?
Man, so everyone knows that our linebacker unit last year was nothing. There's nothing to say about it but disappointing. They just were not fast to the football. They were not aggressive. They were not the Ohio State linebackers that we're used to at all. But there was one guy last year that had a good year at linebacker, and that was Steele Chambers, who has never played defense in college. Oh, elite name. And I just think that dude will do anything to win football games. And I think he's a good linebacker for us. I think he's definitely going to start. But the rest of them, other than Tommy Eichenberg's last game, which was good, he had a bad year. And Taraja Mitchell, bad year for what we wanted from him. Obviously,
we have a wristband of his, but we're not.
Yeah, we do. Thank you to him. He's a great dude.
Yes,
I think he could have a good year this year. He definitely could. He has all the potential. But yes, Kayvon Pope throws all of his gear into the stands, quits the team. Dallas Gant enters the transfer portal. It was just a rough year.
Yeah.
But this year we got 2 borderline 5-star linebackers. One of them was a consensus 5-star, and CJ Hicks. And then you got Gabe Powers, that could play that Leo hybrid position on the hybrid DN linebacker position that Matt was talking about. And then we also got we hit the portal and got Diamante Trianum, who was one of the best running backs in the Pac-12 for Arizona State. He had multiple 200-yard rushing games, and he decided to come play linebacker at Ohio State.
Wow.
So that's going to be we've got a deep room, but we'll see in terms of will it produce. And it doesn't have to do really anything to be better than last year because we return every single linebacker from the team that didn't quit the team. So
you talk about I think so. I think you got 2 guys. Tommy came on Eichenberg at the end of the year strong.
He did.
Struggled. He struggled early. I think he kind of caught up to the speed of the game a little bit. He's very smart. They talk about him as very, very smart. He doesn't talk a lot, but he's very smart. He's not a very verbal guy. Not that matters or anything. But what I'm saying is he's very smart, knows the game. I think he's going to be a backer that starts. Steele, Brady hit it right on the head. He was one of our best defensive players last year. Mm-hmm. That dude flies to the football. One of the defense coaches was talking about it. I can't remember exactly who it was. Said that playing linebacker almost helped him, or playing running back before almost helped him because it was like he had a sixth sense of knowing where guys were going to end up running through the holes, running through. Where you get what I'm saying? He kind of was one step ahead of that instinct wise. So I think those 2 are 2 guys that are starting right. After that, it's a crapshoot. Caillou Gayote, right?
Oh, wow, yeah. How did I miss on him?
highly recruited guy, right?
Okay.
Transfer. He's got a chance to really. I mean, that third spot is wide open. Go get it, right? Mitchell Melton coming in, Reed Carrico, Cody Simon, right? Taraja. I'm not into Taraja. I think he is one of the. I don't want to be an asshole or anything, but he just can't move, man. He looks like he's standing in concrete when he's playing, right? Yeah. Cody Simon obviously started a lot last year, played a lot last year. He's got a chance to take that role. Like I said, Mitchell Melton, Reed Carrico, Powers, and then obviously I think you're going to see a lot of CJ Hicks. I really do. He's too highly recruited to not at least get in there. I'm hoping he's the next Raekwon, Baron Browning, somebody like that. Big 5-star recruit and is just able to step in and play right away, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's a crapshoot at linebacker. Your guess is as good as mine for the – I think the problem was last year we played like 10 fucking guys. We never got our guys a chance to fucking stay in there and play the whole time and get their – Maybe that was because none of them were good enough to separate.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was just because we just wanted to try to figure out. So we need to get 4 or 5 guys that could separate from each other to where you start 3 or you go 4-2-5-2, whatever it is, right? Start those, but then have 2 guys to rotate in when they get tired or whatever. But we can't just come in and play 8, 9, 10 guys again a linebacker. There's no way. We can't do it.
It's nice to hear though that Court Williams looks like he'll be playing some the outside linebacker position, safety hybrid, right? The third guy a lot. So, like he said, like all those guys that we mentioned, it's such a deep linebacker room where
it's so deep. It's got to be the deepest in the country because
it is. But
it's just not. It's not a good depth though yet.
No,
it's just not because none of them are worth it. None of them has proven. None of them have proven so far that they're worth a shit.
They were good recruits too. Like they have the potential. They all sucked, other than Steel Chambers. They all sucked, other than Steel last year. So we'll see what they can bring us. They're going to have to give us a whole lot more than they gave us last year if we're going to want to compete for a title and stop some of these big rushing attacks because they absolutely sold the season for us against Michigan. They absolutely sold the season for us.
Group effort with the defensive line, but the front 7, like that game just looked like they were not even a step slow, probably 2.5 steps slow. It looked like, but
man,
yeah,
they just didn't move. They stood there and took their beating the whole game
against their rival. That should piss them the hell off. Let's say the least. There, wow.
And I think it does. And watching Steel Chambers' interview, he is mad. He is ready to go. He'll go to war. He'll do whatever he needs to do to win games for us this year. So Steel Chambers is a lock to start for Ohio State this year. That's one of those 3 guys.
Absolutely.
Yep. And hopefully that somewhat answers the question of linebackers. We'll just have to see what happens when it comes to Saturdays and all. But how about the secondary? We had some guys enter the transfer portal. I know, Brady, you're very excited about Bryson Shaw out of there.
I was also very excited about Legend Cavazos.
I just heard so much. Like I tell you, Matt, I think I went to the Maryland game with him. I just kept hearing about how awful Bryson Shaw was, like every freaking play. I mean, everyone else was saying it, but it was just funny listening to Brady say it like the entire season. But that's talking about the safety position there, but just like safeties and corners in general. Like, what are you guys expecting? Saturday and just even going into the season.
The corner room is fantastic. I think Cam Brown is a great corner. I think he's underrated. I think he's one of the best in the country. Then you look at Denzel Burke, best freshman corner in the country last year. Played a lot of games. He'll be good. He'll be a great corner for us this year. And then Jordan Hancock and Kalen Johnson were highly rated freshman corners last year that didn't see the field much, but have all the potential in the world to be great players here. So a great 4 deep corner room coming into the year. And then safety-wise, we've got Ronnie Hickman, team's leading tackler from last year. He's moving to the free safety position. He was more of a strong safety last year. So really good to have him back. And then you have Tanner McAllister, who was a all Big 12 defensive player and one of the best defensive players in the Big 12 the past couple of years for Oklahoma State. Sealed the Texas game with the pick and had a huge pass breakup against Oklahoma to kind of win the game from a deep shot that Caleb Williams tried to fit it in for a touchdown. And he's going to be the leader of the defense this year because he knows the system. And so expect Tanner McAllister to have a big year at the slot corner position. And then Josh Proctor coming back. Bryson Shaw, we no longer have to see him because sadly we only saw him last year because Josh Proctor broke his leg. But Proctor's back there. And then Cam Martinez, Court Williams, all these guys will fill in. Really, I think our secondary is going to be definitely the best in the Big Ten, if not top 3 in all of college football.
Where do you see Sonny Styles fitting in?
Well, since he's enrolling in the summer, I don't think he'll play much, but I do think when we're playing, your Rutgers and your Marylands of the world and all those teams that suck, Arkansas State, whatever it is. Yeah. I think if we're up big, and I think he can make some huge plays, some hard hits. I think he'll play that outside linebacker safety hybrid spot that Court Williams is projected to possibly play. And I think that Sonny Styles could earn playing time through his garbage time minutes this year. But I don't think they'll just throw him out there without him having to prove it a little bit first.
Again, that's just showing out in your moment.
Yeah.
You got it, Matt.
Like Brady said, Sonny is going to be very young, but he's very highly recruited. We're really, really, really deep in the secondary, really deep. And the guy to watch out for me is Tanner McAllister for sure.
Oh,
him coming in, he already knows literally the entire defensive system with Jim Knowles, obviously the new defense coordinator, coming from Oklahoma State. I believe they finished top 5 in the country last year in yards allowed, top 10 in points allowed. So they had a really good defense, but he's just going to be so instrumental in the back end in terms of just teaching everybody coverages, this, that, or the other. He's already got the experience, got everything down. So he's a guy to watch out for. But my favorite player is Denzel Burke, man. That's my favorite DB. That dude is locked down. Book it. First round corner coming soon. I'm telling you right now, when he was getting up in Bell's face last year from Purdue, going right at him, he would get beat. He would get beat sometimes, and sometimes he'd win. But that motherfucker was getting up in his grill, just going at him all day long. Day long. He's not scared of nothing. He will go after your best receiver. You put me on an island, I got this guy every down. That's my favorite defensive player. So I'm really, really looking forward to Denzel Burke. Just another year back in the system again. Obviously, we got the other corners on the other end, Martinez or Cam Brown. I'm sorry. So
yeah,
I think we got the guys on the edge, right? Ronnie Hickman obviously had a huge year last year. Was our best defensive player. Him and Steele were by far in terms of making tackles. Coming downhill reminds me kind of how Jaden used to play. Jaden Davis at safety. Ronnie would just fly downhill and make plays, come downhill and crack somebody, man. That's what Ronnie Hickman can come at. So
no doubt.
Like I said, Denzel's my dude, man. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, Denzel Burke locked up pretty much every big-time receiver he went against, or at least won the battle. But we actually have a little bit of breaking news. Ohio State has just received a crystal ball for the number 1 player in the country for 2024, quarterback Dylan Raiola out of Texas.
Yeah.
And the prediction comes from the most reliable recruiting insider. So Ohio State seems to be the clear leader for the best player in the nation who happens to be a quarterback in 2024.
Well,
6'3",
I
225.
guess Devin Brown's going to have some competition.
I didn't quite hear you guys. You guys kind of cut out there.
Okay, yeah, you got
I
it,
said
Matt.
Devin Brown's going to have some competition.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I didn't even think of that.
So this is where it is right here, man. This is huge. Like when you get a quarterback that's so good and then leaves, that's why it's so important to have a quarterback each cycle. Each cycle is so,
get a QB back.
so important.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And for getting this crystal ball, we can thank Dwayne Haskins. We're going right back to that point.
There we
Would
go.
we be getting the number one quarterback without him starting that streak? Probably not.
Did you hear the report today, Brady, about the defensive tackle from Georgia transferring?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He seems to be –
what's his name?
Amarius Mims or something like that.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Give me a second.
He's a freak. It was an offensive tackle, wasn't it, though?
I thought it was a defense. Hold on. What?
Okay.
I can't remember who I saw it from. Maybe it wasn't J Book. Never mind. Anyways, somebody from Georgia was transferring, and we were a front runner for it. So that could be a big deal as well.
Wow, that'd be huge if we can get Amarius Mims. He's an absolute freak. That would be absolutely huge. But yeah, absolutely huge if we can land him.
By the way, can I mention that Royola, his 24/7 sports composite rating is a 99.46 out of 100.
That's insane. That's ridiculous.
Gosh.
That's ridiculous.
6'3", 225 pounds from Chandler High School in Chandler, Arizona, and got, Alabama, Georgia, Nebraska, all the schools, all right? And then, crystal ball projections, obviously, like you said, the breaking news with Ohio State in the mix, and then a lot of USC was actually on the market there too.
You're right. But the fact that we lead his recruitment this early is definitely a good thing. Ryan Day can continue to get him on campus. And he seems like a guy that'll stay as the number one QB in this class. And getting guys like this is just huge especially when you're picking up the receivers that we're getting. We're also the favorites. We are arguably the favorites for the top two receivers in the 2023 class and the 2024 class as well. Wow. So,
so Mims left Georgia, and he's visiting Miami, and apparently we're in the mix as well. So
okay, that would be huge. Yeah, I think he was a top 5 player in the country out of high school, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was a 5-star for sure. I'm not exactly sure what his rank was, but definitely a 5-star tackle.
Definitely.
Well, we're definitely going to keep up to date with that because, that's 2 big pieces of news right there. One that could hit us immediately right now, and then one that'll hit a couple years down the road.
Right.
But yes, we've gotten through all the positions and all. We'll get through one more thing, coaching staff changes. You guys got the floor at this one. Like, just your thoughts on the changes and everything. Matt, you can take it away.
So position, obviously, with Jim Knowles coming in, defense coordinator, I already kind of mentioned how successful Oklahoma State's defense was last year. So at first, I wasn't thrilled about the move. I wasn't too excited. After digging through it a little bit, I wanted us to go after a guy like Gary Patterson, who was the old TCU head coach, who had great defenses for a long time. I wanted us to go after somebody more solidified, I guess. After kind of the weeks have gone by and everything, I'm starting to buy in more into Knowles' deal. I think we hired 2 really good position coaches with Tim Walton in the back end, especially Tim Walton and Perry Eliano, I think is his last name, how you pronounce it. Eliano last year was UC's DB coach. and he coached two of the best in the country with Kobe Bryant and Ahmad
Gardner.
Gardner, that's right. Gardner
Yeah.
and Kobe Bryant. So, and obviously we know how good Cincinnati was last year. He's coming from the Luke Fickell tree. We know who Fickell is. We know he was the former defense coordinator. So I'm excited about that guy. And then Tim Walton, he came from the NFL. I think he's going to be coaching safeties.
Yeah.
He's coached two. He coached Jalen Ramsey with the Jaguars. So he's coached big names as well. So, and obviously Jalen Ramsey's one of the best DBs in the world.
Ramsey said that Walton was the best corner coach he's ever had too. So
that's some high praise.
That's huge.
So we're getting some very highly praised, highly touted, defensive guys to come on that side of the ball. And Knowles is going to be coaching linebackers as well. So hopefully he can get those shitbags in order so we can roll in. And defense line wise, we don't have to worry about that with LJ.
Yeah.
So we're good there. But then the other change, Justin Fry, right, the O-line coach, great hire. I was really good. Really perfect. I loved it. He's got a pass with Ryan. Fry coached with Urban at Florida for a while. But then when Ryan and Fry coached together at Temple, so they have a past. Coming up with that, UCLA was sneaky good early last year. They were able to run the ball well. Mm-hmm. Things like they were putting up a lot of points, and then they kind of, they're just not. They don't have the talent to continuously be great. But they were sneaky good, and even some of our offensive linemen are already talking about the different ways that they're being coached. It's just better. It's more simple.
Yeah.
Than last year with Coach Stud. So I'm big on that guy. I'm really excited for the offensive line coach. I think I think Ryan realized what happened last year. He had to get dudes the hell out, right? Some of those coaches, he made the necessary changes. So we just got to see how it pans out on the field now. And I was excited, in the past, Urban was kind of criticized for being a little bit too loyal to people, too loyal to some of his coaching staff, keeping guys on staff maybe longer than they should have, a year too long. Ryan, right away, when something happened, made the changes that needed to be made. So in terms of, coaching staff, I think we've got some high-profile guys that just came in, and we have the talent to do the job. It's just we got to put it all together. So I'm excited for him.
I am too. I feel like, Day is absolutely ruthless with this. I think he realizes he knows who the idiots were in our coaching staff. He knows that Matt Barnes is an idiot. He knows that Al Washington is kind of an idiot. He realizes that Kerry Coombs is a good coach, but I feel like he has left his prime as a coach. And you really can't be loyal to him. And he realized that Stud is – I don't even know what to describe. Stud has lost so many important recruiting battles, and the product on the field this year was so bad that it was time to go. So the hiring of Tim Walton, who I love as a cornerback coach, especially him playing at Ohio State and coaching up some great corners in the NFL. Perry Eliano from Cincinnati, he obviously can coach DBs really well. Excited to see what he can do. He's also already landed a commitment from a 2023 four-star safety. And then Jim Knowles, defensive coordinator, probably the most big-time hire we had, hiring a new defensive coordinator when our defense sucked last year, who also can coach linebackers, who was the reason we sucked. So Knowles, expect him to he's also been posting one defensive player a day on Twitter as the silver bullet of the day, which is like what our defense is called, the silver bullets. And we'll say the best defensive player of that day will get posted on his story. He'll tag them. He's kind of getting the players involved, which I really like. And then Justin Fry, like Matt said, that's a great offensive line hire. Instead of going to a big time school, he went to a guy that Ryan Day personally knows. And Ryan Day, I think there's not many people on earth that know more about football than Ryan Day. And I think Ryan Day knows that Justin Fry knows football as well. And to get Justin Fry on this O-line, especially, he already landed a commitment from a high 4-star O-lineman, Luke Montgomery, out of Findlay. So he can recruit. And I've been hearing great reviews from the O-line. And I think he's got the right 5 guys out on the field right now for who's going to start on our team this year. So coaching staff, expect big changes. And on defense, expect more of an aggressive attack and disguise blitzes. C.J. Stroud even said, instead of seeing base coverage every day in practice, I'm seeing some stuff that I haven't seen before and actually get to be prepared for these games. So C.J. Stroud threw for all those yards last year, again, while never practicing hardly ever against like those complicated defenses, which makes it even more impressive. So I can't even imagine what happened in practice last year. It was probably a complete joke, if I had to guess, in terms of those receivers scoring wide open touchdowns.
Man, oh man, to say the least there. A lot of changes going on with Ohio State. I do want before we get off here, one thing you guys are looking forward to Saturday, like the biggest thing you're looking forward to Saturday in this game. I'm going to start with Brady first. I'm going to go to Matt.
Biggest thing I'm looking forward to is watching Devin Brown play and see the reads he makes, and to see the type of quarterback he is in a big and bigger environment. I want to see him like live up against because I will probably be at the game. So I want to see him take some shots. I want to see that arm in full go.
Mm-hmm. All right, Matt, how about yourself?
I want to see who can take the top off of the defense.
Yep.
Emeka Buka, somebody.
Let's see if Julian Fleming can
run down somebody. I just want to see who's going to stretch the defense vertically this year for us.
I also want to see some of these defensive like alignments. Like I want to see if it looks, because last year before the play would even happen, we would be like, our corner would be like 8 yards off the ball, and you just know they're going to just – it's like you're giving up a completion. What are you doing? Like there's no way this is going to work, and then it just won't. I want to see these disguises and all these new coverages that CJ is talking about. I want to see what that looks like as well.
All right. So, I mean, we're looking forward to some big things Saturday, especially with all the younger guys and all that stuff coming into play. And, the big thing is there's football being played at the Shoe. So, got to get excited about that and get a nice preview going in before September. So, that'll be the end of the show tonight. Great show, great talk with Ohio State football. We're going to definitely be doing this a lot down the road, going into September and all. I am your host, Chase Johnson. Brady King, thanks for coming on. Matt, thanks for being on. You'll see a lot of Matt, later on down the road as well. So, everybody else, have a great night, and we will see you soon.